My name is Durand, and I'm going to present my company Durand-Tonearms. That was formed in October 2009 and is now devoted to the manufacturing and production of high-end tone arms. I have two currently, and I will talk about a bit about the history of the process, how I came to actually make a tone arm, then eventually create the company, and where we are now. The Tonearm is essentially part of a record player. Record player are used to play the old vinyl, the black plastic discs that were popular before the beginning of digital. And the record player spins the record, and the Tonearm carries an element that's called the cartridge, that is the one directly in contact with the record. So the electrical signal that comes from the cartridge is then transmitted through the Tonearm into the electronics and eventually the speakers. And that's how the sound from the record comes out. I really never decided to make a Tonearm as such. In late 2008, I had the idea of trying to see what would happen if I put a piece of wood on a needle. Essentially, it was a very rudimentary project. And I had just bought an old turntable on eBay, and I didn't have a Tonearm for it, so I decided to make one just to see what would happen. And after a few weeks of experimenting to get the balancing right and the proper pieces in place, I realized that it actually didn't sound so bad. So I got kind of hooked up in the project. From then on, I started to think about it all the time and how to fix little parts, make it better in various ways. And by 6 months later, I had something that started to be quite interesting. The idea for a product came quite later. As I said, I started around late Christmas '08, and at first I was just really curious to see what would happen if I did this. Now, as I got more involved in it, I discovered around April '09 that there was a very interesting facility here on campus in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, the learning center where anybody, staff or faculty, can learn to machine, students as well. It's used mostly by the students of mechanical engineering, but it's open to other people as well. So when I discovered that, I took the course there, and eventually I was able to make better and better, or more and more sophisticated parts for the Tonearm. So the design became more complicated, more comprehensive. I also eventually had to learn a CAD program, because you can't really program even a 2-axis mill with just drawing on paper with a pencil. So all this came together pretty much in spring and summer '09. Now, this was not yet the beginning of a business, because I was just still fooling around and getting better, but not really thinking about it. And then eventually in the summer, two things happened about a few weeks apart. One was that a friend of mine who's a professional turntable manufacturer came to Seattle and heard the arm and said, this is actually very good. Maybe you should think about doing something with it. And say, well, whatever, I'm not there, I don't want it, it's just for fun. But then I invented a device which controls one of the parameters that allows adjustment of the stylus on the record. And when I discovered this, since it was done, I had done this as a research in mechanical engineering in the shop, I had to disclose it to the university. And when I did that, my first meeting with Chris Igelski from, at that time, Tech Transfer, suggested that maybe I should go in business with it. And that's how I decided, okay, I'm going to make it serious and make a business. So we filed the patent in that during the summer, and I formed the business in September '09. By the time that was it, I was locked into becoming a businessman. I hesitated for a few weeks between late June, when that friend came over and said that was something I should maybe pursue more seriously, and that meeting with Chris was really the catalyst. I was kind of thinking about it, but not really wanting to cross the line. And when I realized that the whole patent application, and the protection essentially of the device was kind of a bit dependent on forming a business, then that was the last draw I had. And I said, okay, that sounds like something I can do. But I was really not clear what I was getting into at all at that point. I was just, all right, well, let's do it. That should be fun. And there we were. The aspect of commercialization was important actually because it helped me get better. It forced me to find better solutions, to improve more and more. It just pushed me in the back a lot more than I might have if I hadn't done that. Yeah, I got tremendous support in the summer of 2009. I mean, starting in summer of 2009, of course, from I think it was called Tech Transfer at the time. It wasn't called Center for Commercialization yet. So I got a lot of help there. First, of course, the impetus to get into business started with the office when we talked about the patent application. Then they filed the patent, or we wrote that, and they filed it. They also were very instrumental in putting the business together, understanding what an LLC was, for example. I had no idea how to start, what was involved. Yeah, it's a lot of fun in many ways. I mean, I love the assembling, putting things together, making it sound good. Of course, listening to music is always the ultimate goal. But it's also, a bit stressing at times, getting things ready for shows or delivering to customers who are a bit impatient. But it's not that bad. People understand in that field that they have to wait. It's a handmade product essentially, high luxury, shall we say. So people know that it's going to take some time to get it right and do it well, and they're ready to wait. They don't mind waiting a few weeks or sometime a couple of months if it's going to be what they want. So it's very satisfying. And then they get it and they tell you it's wonderful, it's the best they've heard, and what else can you ask for? The market, it's hard to evaluate even now after a year and a half of being in the market. I have a backlog constantly, about 10 units behind to do at all the time. So I don't really know. I think in this country, it's fairly healthy. In Europe, there's probably a bit more demand, although I haven't been there yet very heavily. I have a few customers already. Asia certainly is a booming, as in everything, is a booming market as well for high luxury products like this. But I don't know in numbers really. I couldn't tell. As far as I know, I know mostly the ones in this country because I haven't gone to other countries to visit the customers. But typically, these are people who already have quite a bit of experience in audio. They've been doing it for a number of years, and of course, they're fairly well off because these are very expensive products. But in terms of what they do in their life, it's all over the place. You have doctors, contractors. Managers of the car dealerships. There's all kinds of people involved in this. What is really common, however, in all these people is they really all love music. Obviously, that's what they're doing with the equipment. But they have a deep understanding, a deep passion for music, and the reason they do this is to be able to hear it better, to get a more live experience, a more profound experience when they listen to it, and that's very general. It starts with the music, and then the gear, the toys are there to fuel the passion, so to speak. I don't like the competitiveness of it at all. If I could avoid it, I would, but that's unavoidable. I mean, I've experienced that in composing, of course, for many years. It's less apparent with composers because there's very little money involved. So you compete for a spot in the light essentially, but the money isn't really a big object. In this, I've discovered, of course, a completely different world. A number of people do this for a living. So I don't. I do this on the side. So they don't necessarily like it. Now that I've been through all this, I don't want to start over with another product and spend that much time in it. So no, I'm happy with Tonearms. I mean, maybe I'll find a better way to make another one or something along those lines. Or maybe I won't. I'll just be happy keeping those two alive and improving them as they go, and otherwise writing music again. In terms of balancing academic life and research, I've actually done this since I started here, of course, because I had to balance composing with, which is considered as research, of course, in my department. So balancing composing with teaching, and I'm afraid I don't have a whole lot of wisdom there, except just work all the time. And has been even worse now. Of course, starting this new business has been a lot of work. It hasn't influenced at all the quality of my teaching or anything like that, because it was very much the same as I was doing before when I was composing as part of research. Oh, I'm very glad I did this. This is this has been a wonderful experience. It's been mostly rewarding for me because I've discovered so much about materials, about design, about engineering in general. All things I have to, when I started just after high school, I did actually 3 years of scientific studies to become an engineer, electrical and mechanical engineering. And I gave up because I was fed up with it and I just wanted to do music. So I completely closed that door for 35 years and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And somehow getting into this project, it wasn't a reaching back to the past or anything, but it became more and more of a kind of a synthesis of things I had done since I was, a teenager, essentially. I was already interested in audio at the time. I didn't have any money, but I was always a bit interested in that. So it's been quite extraordinary to bring these two things together in that way, absolutely. The one thing I can take from this is I never thought it was complicated. And I've had people ask me, well, this was a tremendous undertaking. How could you have, were you ever afraid or regret or anything? And I never had that sense. I always worked day by day, discovering things, solving little problems, including starting business, all that. It was just, I was just very interested and enthusiastic about it. So I never saw it as a big mountain to climb over. And I would say, don't even think like that. It's going to happen naturally if you just go step by step.